coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
What's better than spots in the grass, you might ask? Well, I would answer spots in the grass with an afternoon snack. This is Wild Wonderland. This is absolutely magnificent.
This is happening, folks. This is 100% live.
Here we are. We're watching the migration story unfold. Here's a lion. There's a lion right next to us.
Oh, that was close.
You can't possibly script something like this.
Good afternoon and welcome to CGTN's Wild Wonderland live show. My name is James Hendry. On camera, as always, is enormous James. There is his gloved finger, and we have got a wonderful afternoon planned for you here. Over there is the Salt Lick Pride, and they have killed a wildebeest and the little cubs are feeding on it. Now we are coming to you live from 3 locations in Africa. Here, the Masai Mara of Kenya, the Serengeti in Tanzania, and of course the Western Kruger, where you just saw Jamie and Klalamba, the leopard cub, in South Africa. Please talk to us during the course of the show using the hashtag CGTNWild or the hashtag Wild Wonderland. That's on Twitter, hashtag CGTNWild or hashtag Wild Wonderland. Now, we've had quite a traumatic afternoon following this lioness. She's a long way from where she left the cubs yesterday in the safety of that culvert under the road, and we thought maybe she'd lost them. She spent about half an hour looking through these long grasses, and eventually she found the little things, obviously close by to where she'd left them last night after they killed the wildebeest over there. Now, that wildebeest, unfortunately, will not be making the return journey back to the Serengeti, unlike the 2 million other herbivores that will.
The red oatgrass plains of the Mara Serengeti sway in anticipation. In February, around 400,000 wildebeest are born on the short grass of the Serengeti's southern plains. Just half an hour, the calves have found their feet. And one of nature's greatest journeys begins. From the southern plains, more than 1 million animals move northwest into the Serengeti's western corridor, massing on the banks of the Grumeti River. As the rut ends, the herds gallop north once more. Eventually, 2 million grazers arrive to feast on the abundance of the Masai Mara. It begins with a trickle of the zebra vanguard, enjoying the undisturbed long-grass plains, making the first crossings of the turbulent Mara River. Many fall to the rapids and the crocodiles. And then comes the main body of the migration, the thundering herds of white-bearded gnu, bleating songs of chaos in search of green pasture. The herds know the danger, but the call for food is too great. All must take the plunge. Not all will make it. For those that do, hungry prides and clans patrol the banks. For survivors, rich red oatgrass is the reward. Before it's time to cross the river again, as nature's greatest herd follows the life-giving storms and verdant plains of the Mara Serengeti for nourishment.
Jumbo Jumbo, and nothing compares to the Great Migration, and especially here in Africa and more so in East Africa. I am talking between Kenya and Tanzania, between the Serengeti National Park and the Masai Mara of Kenya. I mean, seeing those animals in their thousands, and especially the wildebeest, when you see like over 1 million species of the same animals moving together, it's very special. Well, I do not have wildebeest here. I got buffaloes. Buffaloes do not cover as many thousands of kilometers as the wildebeest do, but they do what we call a mini migration. Jump one more time, everybody. My name is David, and on camera is Bungay. Bungay, how are you doing? And we're very excited to be showing you these herds of buffaloes here, which I think they're anything between 200 to 300 buffaloes. This is the African Cape Buffalo, as we call it. And because of the heat of the day, we are doing over 28 degrees or so Celsius or 83 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment. That is rather hot for these animals to be feeding, and that's why they have all slowed down. You'll notice they all stopped, and a few of them could be chewing cud, buffaloes being ruminants. Notice how busy their ears are, their tails are, keeping flicking because of all the irritation of the flies. Jumbo buffaloes. Well, these are some of the largest, animals that we have in Africa. But I think my friend across the border in Tanzania got smaller animals. He got some sort of antelopes, and he would like to say hello to all of you.
Indeed, we have something a lot smaller than a buffalo. It's the Thomson's gazelles, one of the sort of lesser-known members of the migration. Everybody always focuses on the wildebeest and zebra, but these guys are equally important and provide a huge amount of entertainment with their antics as they chase each other around in between all of the wildebeest, and obviously are a vital food source for many of the smaller predators that occur here. My name is Tristan. On camera I've got David, and it is wonderful to have you here on the most glorious afternoon in Serengeti National Park in Tanzania. It is the perfect condition to be in the CGTN Wild Wonderland live show, and hopefully we're going to be able to find lots of exciting things in amongst these Thomson gazelles and wildebeest. While we do that though, let's send you back across to James and see how his lions are getting on as they approach the kill that they had earlier today.
We've got an amazing development here. This lioness has just come over. She's been up a tree most of the afternoon, and now she's come to join the others. Look. I think this is the mother of the older cubs. She's got her face covered in flies. And interestingly, she looks quite empty. She hasn't eaten, and yet there's a carcass sitting right here, so she might start feeding sometime soon. I just want to say I agree with Tristan completely that the Thomson's gazelle is the most underrated member of the migration. They are stunning creatures. Now let's go and see if she greets the others. You can see her belly is not full at all. I don't know why she wouldn't have eaten last night unless the pride split. And the two lionesses we were with last night killed this wildebeest and maybe another and ate. There we go. Isn't that wonderful? It's still very hot today. There's still about, two still suckling there. It's still about 28 degrees. And so for the lions to be very active at this time of day would be unexpected. Sweet, look at them now playing. I don't know why this carcass is sitting here uneaten. It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, we'll try and figure out what's going on here and go back to South Africa, where the lions seem to be much less confused about what they should be doing with their kill.
Yes, hello everybody, and we're back at our kill from this morning. Well, not exactly ours, but one that we got to see. And how awesome is this? Now, we have a lot going on. We've got some lappet-faced vultures in the background there, and you have me, and my name is Trishala, with Sebastian on camera this afternoon, and we're really happy to be able to bring this to you and show you how this kill has actually progressed and how the lions have interacted. Now, earlier when we had them, we had 3 of the lionesses. At the moment, we've only got 2, and 2 of them males, but that is because one lioness is off to have a drink at the nearby watering hole, and there is another lion, the blonde one that we saw earlier this morning, and he's up on the dam wall. Now the female, the lioness who has the 2 cubs, is also around, but the cubs have just been taken off by her, probably had a bit of a feed, and are now taken back into the bushes. There's a lioness coming up on my left too to come and join in, and she will come in a bit. But I want you to have a good look at the way they've eaten this carcass and how much is gone. Because you remember this morning there was very little of it, or very much of it, and very little was eaten. And now you can see that they've done a great job of finishing it off. Now look at that lion using his tongue. That tongue is rough, and he'll actually be able to pull off meat with all those barbs on that tongue. Wow, look at that. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, these guys and these gals that we have here have had a long-term relationship, at least for the last year or so, and they have come together quite nicely over this carcass, but have in the past as well.
It has been more than 2 years since the soft mewling of cubs blessed the Nkahuma pride. The 6 sub-adults fathered by the Birmingham boys in 2016 are reaching maturity. The Birminghams have moved south, and the Avoca Coalition has taken control of the Nkahuma Pride lands. They have been busy, setting their boundaries and furthering their bloodline. Now we see the fruits of their labours. Once again, the Nkahumas are experiencing the joy of new cubs.
Welcome back live, and more so here to the Masimara. And it's always very interesting to see all the dynamics of lions, and if there's a coalition of lions I'd like to follow is the Avocas. I haven't moved an inch from where I was because, do you hear that? Some buffalo bellowing there. We got elephants that came in our shot, and if you look at the background behind the buffaloes, we got a herd of elephants. Now, of course, all of them, or both species, have been brought here by one commonality: food. Look at the grass and see how short it is, and above all, how green it is, comparing it to the red oat grass. This type of grass is very nutritious, and that's why all the buffaloes are here. But one major difference between feeding habits of these two species is you notice the elephants will keep eating and eating throughout. Unlike buffaloes that are not, I would say buffaloes that are ruminants, elephants will keep eating like 16, 17 hours in a day. Haley, you say Muri, buffaloes, and I agree with you. There's one Bungai there, he just moved his head, and I agree with you. And this morning we had a particular incident where we had a buffalo chasing another car of some other guests, and it was an exciting moment. Now, behind the buffaloes, Bungai, if you're going to pan the camera behind, you can see there are lots of birds, a lot of white birds there, and those are the birds that we call cattle egrets. And cattle egrets in general move with the big herbivores, rhinos, buffaloes. Do you hear that? Elephants. And anytime they walk through the grass, they'll keep picking up any insect that will jump in the air. So saying one major difference between the feeding habits of these two species here, elephants need to eat a lot, and they tend to eat like 16, 17 hours in a day. So buffaloes being ruminants, what they do, they'll keep eating, then stop and pause and regurgitate what they had eaten earlier, and they start rechewing the cud. I'll stay here for a couple more minutes, see whether these elephants may choose to go through this herd of buffaloes and see how it will unfold. But in the meantime, we'll take you back to the Avocas with Trishala in South Africa.
David is certainly right, and you can see that the pace is sort of slowed down compared to this morning, and that's because everybody... Oh, get in there. Everybody is pretty full already. Look Look at this. It's always really, really interesting to watch them feed like this because they do this often. They'll poke their heads in and get to all those places. Looks like the one lioness is half falling asleep on the end of that buffalo there. Paw in the air as well. Well, they all have really, really full bellies. There's a male just at the back there, and you can really get an idea of how big that belly is. Look at that. All full up, and you can see that he's panting heavily. Hello. All that digestion takes a lot of energy. A lot of energy and, of course, oxygen to be able to digest all that meat, that protein. And we know that these animals don't sweat, so there's no real way for them to increase their oxygen intake apart from panting. Cranky pangolin. You'd like to know how long they will feed on this buffalo before they will abandon it? Well, they'll feed as much as they can. They'll stuff themselves, and male lions can eat a ridiculous amount. It's close to 40 kgs, if not up to 47 kgs of meat in one sitting. The females slightly less, more in the 30s. But that is a lot of meat, and especially since there are a lot feeding on it. We've had 3 males, and now there's 4 females here. So they'll all need to get their bits, and they probably won't stop until they can't go on any longer. Now, it will last for quite a bit, a few days or so. And once they know that there's nothing else really to get out of it, and the scavengers come running, they will abandon it. But I'm going to stick around here a little longer so we can have a good look at the way this goes on. But I'm going to send you over to Jamie with our little princess, Tlalamba.
Well, fortunately, little Tlalamba doesn't have to share her kill with anybody. And she would struggle to do so because it is actually quite a small kill. She's managed to catch herself a scrub hare. But for a young female leopard like Tlalamba, who is trying to establish herself out here in the wilderness of the Greater Kruger, every little bit counts. She is just over a year and a half, so that means she has only just secured her independence, found her way away from the warm or not so warm embrace of her mother Tundi. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. And she has moved out on her own and is having to survive. And she's done an absolutely marvelous job of it so far. So as she munches her way through her scrub hare, my name is Jamie, and behind the camera is Craig. And you are watching CGTN's Wild Wonderland. And isn't this just the best way to spend an afternoon? We are all so invested in the future of this little leopard. We've watched her grow up from a tiny cub, just in the same way we have with Hosanna, who is around here somewhere, quite possibly. He is her older brother. And we're all deeply impressed by the way in which she has handled herself. She's a tiny little thing. This little leopard in front of you, look at those pretty eyes, probably only weighs around about 40 kilograms, so just over 80 pounds. She's a little thing, but she packs a serious punch. Right, well, speaking of growing up, James's lion cubs aren't quite there just yet, but they'll be fearsome predators one day.
They certainly will. They'll be packing a more fearsome punch than any leopard because they'll be so much bigger. That's the only reason. Otherwise, their design is almost identical. The little ones have got big, fat, round bellies. Look at that. They're so happy. They are so overjoyed. Now, there's something else quite interesting here other than the immense cuteness of the scene. There's the mother of the little ones. The mother of the bigger cubs. Remember, there are 3 bigger cubs of around about, say, 5 months or so. And only one of those cubs is here. And I don't know where the other 2 are. I'm presuming that they're still in their little culvert under the road. And maybe she'll go back and fetch them. But I don't know why they wouldn't have been left with the little cubs and the one older cub. So we did spend, like I say, 45 minutes looking with the mother for the little cubs, and they emerged with one bigger cub. Now the other two cubs are not here. So we're missing two bigger cubs and one lioness. And I'm pretty sure the other lioness is up at the waterhole where we were yesterday and the day before and the day before that. But I think that the cubs must be there with her too. This kill remains almost untouched. And I remembered, I told you yesterday that this pride does tend to kill relatively frequently without actually eating, and I think all of the lions do that at this time of the year. All of you saying how cute this is, it is absolutely magical. To spend time with lion cubs that are active is one of nature's most, I suppose, gracious offerings. It's just too sweet for words. And made all the more so by the sounds they make, and all the more so by the juxtaposition of how terrifying they will become one day. And so I'm not going to go anywhere from here. The soundtrack of this time of the year, of course, is not in fact that of lion cubs. It is the endless bow, 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 bow.
Indeed, and a very warm welcome to all of you here in the Mara Triangle, where we sit across the field from James and his lions, and in between us and him is this enormous herd of wildebeest. And, well, welcome everybody. My name is Steve Falconbridge, joined on camera by Jean-André Gerding, and we are very privileged to be amongst the herds of wildebeest here in the migration. Now, this herd spans as far as the eye can see, and it must be a very tempting sort of lure for the lions. Although full-bellied, there are noises and smells all over the place that would attract the attention of the pride, the Salt Lick pride. Some zebra there in the mix, but as far as the eye can see, the herds continue. And they seem to, for the most part, be heading a little bit north of this group. But we've been with some herds today that crossed back into the Serengeti, back to give Tristan some wonderful shots over the next day or so. We don't really know what they're doing. They're just moving up and down. One of them goes this way, and they all decide to follow. So we're going to stay with this herd, see if maybe we can pick a predator or two out of the mix. In the meantime, the beautiful princess down in Juma with her meal.
So while Steve tries to pick a predator out of the mix, Tlalamba is trying to pick off the fur of her rather meager meal. So scrub hares are incredibly fluffy creatures, and they're actually quite lean and quite muscular, which means that she's not really getting much out of this meal except for a mouthful of fur. And she's been giving us a very entertaining display of just how leopards deal with that amount of fluff. She's actually acquired a scrub hare beard. Now, for those of you that perhaps have sensitive stomachs, some of this might be a little bit difficult to watch, but she can't go to the grocery store and buy herself some pre-packed meat, all nicely cleaned for her. She has to catch and feed herself, and that's exactly what she's done. So young leopards of this age will hunt absolutely anything, and although she's eating now, that doesn't mean that towards Oh, Tlalamba, you're not very nice, girl. Have you got a mouthful of fur? Yuck. No one likes a mouthful of fur. As I was saying, just the fact that she's eating now doesn't mean that she's not going to get up and go off in search of even more food. She's a terror of scrub hares, this little leopardess. So while she might be a terror of scrub hares, the Nkuhumas and Avokas have proved the terror of buffalo. Let's head back across to Trish and rejoin her.
Let's just listen for a moment. Can you hear now that Avoca male has his snout or muzzle right into that buffalo? males can be quite aggressive at a carcass, especially one like this. And even though they know they're sharing, they don't want the females to bother them whatsoever. So this female came along, and then she just got kind of swatted a little bit by the male, and he decided, I want to put my face into that carcass. Listen, you can hear it shearing. Now they have specially adapted teeth. Some of the premolars in the back of their mouth are adapted to act like shears, and they're called carnassials, and that whole mechanism is called the carnassial shear. Can you believe this is happening right now, absolutely live from the Greater Kruger area of South Africa? Absolutely amazing. Now, just like Tlalamba had a bit of a scrub hair beard, these lions... Oh, don't fight. These lions have a very buffalo bloody beard. You can also hear the hippos in the background. Now, they're not too happy because there's the third lion, the third Avoca male, is sitting up on the dam wall. We can't really see him from here, but he is there. And he's actually, I think, making the hippos a little bit uncomfortable. Now, this is an absolutely epic sighting. You can see the visuals are stunning. The sun is setting. The sounds are amazing. So I'd like to know what your one-word tweet would be. So use the hashtag CGTN Wild or hashtag Wild Wonderland. And I would love to know. My one-word tweet for this? Messy. I think definitely. Now, we've had a lioness walk off and present us with a lovely package very close by. That package, of course, being none other than some lion defecation. And the smell is even worse than that of the carcass. So that's why mine would definitely be messy. They are messy animals. Oh, now look at the lioness on the left. Listen. She is using her her carnassials to be able to cut through that really tough skin, scrape meat off those bones. And of course, I think it's time for everybody to have a bit of a drink now. Oh my goodness. There are other vehicles in the sighting. Of course, everyone wants to come and have a look at this magnificent ordeal that's going on here. And that's what you're hearing. Now look at the tummies of these animals. They are so stuffed. Vicky, you say gluttony. I must agree with you there. They are definitely a gluttonous bunch. You can actually see the male's mouth pushing from the inside out by the buffalo's skin there. Now, I'm so glad that they've managed to get this buffalo because as you've seen in our other episodes, the buffalo have been up and down our area here, and so have these lions, and we've been hoping that they'd be able to get a nice, good meal. And finally, it has happened, and I couldn't be prouder and happier for these lions. Now, amongst those buffalo herds that were traipsing around Djuma, there was one that was lagging behind, so I wonder if it's that one that has gone. But we're going to send you over to James in the Mara in the meantime, and I'm going to try and look for those cubs.
The little ones are now playing with their mother. Their mother has condescended to wake up and come and have a little play with them. Now you can see she's breathing very heavily. That is on account of the heat and the fullness of her belly, and her cubs are relentlessly hungry. Now what will be interesting here, you see the bigger one is in front of this female, who is not the bigger one's mother, but she will be allowed to suckle if there's space. Perhaps Mum's a little bit hungry now. See if she moves to the carcass. Ah, here we go. This is interesting. You'll notice there is no urgency like the urgency you were watching at the buffalo kill there with Shashala. That little beast has been dead for some hours. You can see rigor mortis has set in. And there's no urgency because they eat much more frequently at this time of the year. They will absolutely fight, just like the lions at Chuma were doing, if there are enough of them, and outside of migration season. And it'll be interesting to see also if the other adults now come in. Now what she's trying to do is open the carcass up. So she's using the carnassial teeth, which are her molars, like scissors basically. She's opening the skin. It looks like off the sternum, which seems like a strange place to start. Normally they'd go in through the belly, or the anus, or the neck. So she just listen to that. Carol, it depends on the disease. I'm not sure that they can tell if it's diseased or not, but there are certainly some carcasses that lions won't eat. But it's not rotting carcasses or anything like that. You know, the most rancid meat they've got absolutely no problem eating. And that buffalo, for example, that you've been watching, will probably be enough. Well, with the 3 males there, maybe not, but often they'll feed on a buffalo for 5 days in the hot sun. And by the time they finish, the smell is so utterly appalling that you can't believe they could want to be there. Another lion is behind us now calling. I wonder if that's not the mother looking for the other 2 cubs. There she is. This was the original one that we followed earlier today. She then found the mother, and the mother then found her little cubs. But they're missing 1 lioness and 2 cubs, and that's why they're looking now. She's going to probably have a bit of a drink. She's got a little nick, a little wound on her back leg. Slight nick there. I don't think it's anything serious. And there's a nice clean spring of water there that she can drink from. I'd quite like to join her, except I don't think she'd appreciate that at all. So we'll go back over here to these magnificent lions. Remember, you are watching CGTN's Wild Wonderland live show. It's a huge privilege to be bringing you Africa live from 3 magnificent locations. Now we're getting into the business side of the feeding. Is there a little one there trying, as we hear? A little one trying to help there? Alrighty, we're going to wait and see if they manage to open this carcass up. I'm sure that is going to happen fairly soon. So let's go back to where the buffalo is being devoured in South Africa.
Yes, well, I'm going to try and give you a really nice view of them. They're on my right there. So hopefully this will do. Hello, you little ones. Oh, it's such a wonderful view of them. Oh, now yes, and this morning actually, these days seem so long in the bush, but this morning we only saw them bounding about in tall grass. But here they are. Camera ready for you. Hello, you cuties. Now they would have also got themselves, oh, so curious. They would have also got themselves something to eat there at the carcass because they're about 2.5 months old, possibly going on 3 months old, and sometimes hard to pinpoint because they'll stay stashed away from the rest of the pride just to be safe for quite some time. And around this age, they should be eating meat, even though Mum will still be giving them some milk. But they'll be weaned soon. and then they will be eating meat full time, won't you? It is absolutely adorable. Hello! You are just too cute. Now, I love the fact that they have these quite fat bodies with these short little legs, and they just seem to bounce around everywhere. Now you can see that Mum has kept them away from the males at the carcass there and the other females, because feeding at the carcass can become intense. And the last thing you want is for them to get caught in the middle. Now there's another vehicle moving off, which is why they look so curious. Oh, you curious cats. I'm sure everyone is loving seeing you. Welcome. Now, this is not their on-screen debut. We have seen them before, and it was an absolute delight.
The Nkuhuma Pride has not raised cubs since 2016. The Avoca males claimed this part of the Western Kruger in late 2018, and soon they began the process of leaving a legacy. Eventually, the lionesses began to show signs that a new generation was on its way. Ridgenose looked like she might pop. In midwinter, after searching the secluded thickets for days, we found it. A den with two mewling, adorable fluff balls. The little boys have boundless energy, often to their mother's bemusement. Although scrappy with each other, cubs need a lot of sustenance and security at this vulnerable stage. The other Nkuhuma lionesses will hopefully soon follow suit, and the pride will be flush with a new generation of Kruger lions.
Oh, look. Now they've grown just a little bit since the last time we saw them, and these little cubs will grow quite quickly. And of course they need to play a bit, and I think that's what's happening right now. Now these are two little boys that our Ridgenose has here. Oh. Oh, just too cute. Play is so important for these little ones, in fact for all mammal little ones, because that's how they learn to adapt and how to handle each other, how to handle their prey, how to take down things. Look at that, the biting, the scratching, even smacking with their little paws, all helps them. Come on, Mum. Oh, we've got Mum's tail now. Oh, don't. Mum is not even getting irritated. James, you'd like to know if any of the other Pride members have had cubs as well? Well, so far, it's just this lioness, but there is a possibility of another lioness in the Pride. I'm not sure if I saw her there earlier. But there could be more cubs out there. We're just not sure yet, and we haven't seen them. Absolutely stunning. Look at this now. Mum's tail presents, of course, the ultimate toy. It means that Mum can have a rest from the cubs on top of her head, like she usually gets. And the cubs get a toy. Oh, one's got Mum's tail, and the other's got the baby's tail. Oh, no. Oh, no. You two are just so full of nonsense. Oh, Mum is huffing a little bit. I think she's a little bit irritated now. But she's been a very good mum. Kept her cubs safe so far. That was a very irritated pull away from Mum. So like I said, these are two little boys. And of course, boys are rough, and in the mammal world, it is no different whatsoever. Absolutely stunning. Anyway, I'm not the only one with these lion cubs, or not with lion cubs. James has them as well up in the Mara, so let's see what those guys are getting up to.
Now you can see these scrappy little things are slightly older than those Nkuhuma cubs. They're just a bit bigger, but otherwise their behavior is almost identical. The difference being, of course, that they are at the kill because there are no males here. There is no threat to these little ones being here with their mother. And they're calling and calling. The other two are calling and calling. I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure they're calling the youngsters because the other adult was up near the waterhole today. But at the moment, the cubs don't care who's not here. They're just having a great game. The smell of blood is in their nostrils. One of them was trying to feed the kill. Let's see if she does again. They will start feeding on meat almost from immediately being introduced to the pride. So as soon as they can eat meat, they will eat meat. And they'll only wean completely, well, between 4 and 6 months. I think that the others have weaned because none of the other lionesses is lactating like this one is. And they're about 5 months old. There's the other lioness sitting, staring into the middle distance, hoping to find a companion. Both other lionesses have now moved off to go looking. It's been fascinating this afternoon, it really has, because it started off with the same lioness, that one you've just watched, going off looking for this one that we're looking at here. And it's almost as if she's trying to coordinate the pride. She isn't one of the mothers, and she's almost playing a mother goose role with the pride, trying to bring them all together after a long day apart in the heat. While Mum is gaining some well-needed nutrition, of course. Now, this does get a little bit gory. I'm sorry about that, but understand that the wildebeest is long dead and obviously feels nothing. You have been watching the Nkuhuma pride in the middle of a buffalo, so I don't think that there's any goriness you haven't seen before. We're going to wait and see if these cubs come up to the wildebeest. You're going to go and see some of its much more extant cousins.
Well, from cub cuteness to wildebeest madness, if you're just joining us, you're watching the CGTN Wild Wonderland live show. And, well, as you can see, there are many, many more wildebeest up for grabs for the predators. Just a drop in the ocean, that one wildebeest. There are so many around. It's unbelievable to try and even comprehend the numbers. I'm just going to be quiet for a moment so you can hear the noises we are sitting with. The male wildebeest are the ones making the majority of the sound, and they're running around chasing rivals, trying to hoard the ladies into their little sort of areas that they've demarcated. Wildebeest are very territorial. Minamu, you want to know how far they walk? It's very hard for me to say right now, but it's a few thousand miles that they would walk in a big circle. But obviously, it's only a few kilometers or so each day. They can cover quite some distance if they need to. They are built for walking quite far. That arched back, the way that you see the position of the body, enables them to actually walk very far quite easily. Different from other animals that have got more of a square body. They're not designed for long distance. Like hyena have got a very similar makeup to their sort of body design. It enables them to walk and run very long distances over a short period of time. So it's all about stamina And the youngsters, when they are born, need to be able to stand up within moments of birth to be able to keep up with the herds which do not stick around. They're constantly in search of greener pastures. And even this herd has moved quite substantially. They were all in the far distance there this morning, none on this side where we are now, and they've all moved across. So they're constantly moving, the males demarcating small territories within the moving herds, only to find tomorrow the herd has moved off. And then they realize they must follow, and then on they go again. But look at all of that biomass. Okay, very good. Well, talking about biomass, it's not only the wildebeest and zebra that are thoroughly enjoying the green grass. David is still with his herd of elephants who are enjoying a bit of a graze themselves.
Well, looking at the wildebeest covering so many kilometers and animals that will do almost 2,000 miles in one round, it's something very amazing. Elephants don't walk as much, and I agree with you, Steve, that the wildebeest were designed to stay on the move because moving is what keeps them going. Otherwise, they will not survive like the other species. I left my buffaloes and I thought I'll come and watch these elephants here. And there's a huge herd of elephants where we are. This is the African elephant. And again, just notice they're all feeding, on that short green grass. And for those of you who could be joining us now, my name is David, and on camera is Bungay. Lovely to see such beautiful animals in this kind of great light. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, should you have any questions, you may send them through. Let us share your comments on Twitter, hashtag CGTN Wild or hashtag Wild Wonderland. Now, we just came to the end of the long rains in Kenya, but the area we are in, with or without rain, it remains green. And this is one area that we call the marsh area, and we believe there's a lot of water underground and keeps this elephant going. Even when it's very dry in the country or in the Masai Mara, this area tends in general to remain green. And you can see that these elephants are enjoying every bit of grass. And talking of elephants eating, I think James's lions are feeding on the wildebeest.
I get the impression those elephants are eating as much as they can before this fellow's conspecifics arrive up in the north, where they haven't just yet. My name is James Hendry. My eyes are burning in the African sun, and Big James is on camera. It's wonderful to have you here with us for CGTN's Wild Wonderland live show. Let's go back to the action here with the lions, where a little cub has been feeding and is now given up and is going to play. You can actually see it's the furthest one away. She's just got a bit of blood on her mouth. And there was one of the little females. We know that there's at least one female and at least one male, and I'm not sure yet if we've got two females or two males of the little ones. Let's listen to that. Hello, Teresa. Yes, not even only in the same coalition. Male lions born in the same pride, even if they're a year or two apart, will often form a coalition. So absolutely they will. And for those of you who are wondering what a coalition is, it is, of course, what male lions end up in. They leave the pride. They're never part of the pride after they leave it as mature males. They form a coalition, which will then preside over 2 or 3 pride female territories. So we've got 2 females. We've got 1 little male and 2 females. We now know that. Okay, good. That's in the youngest ones. Oh, and they're just having the best time. And that's one of the other lionesses who's been out looking for her friends. Oh, here come the other cubs. Wait, we'll just give you a second. There is a vehicle also in the sighting with us. There's another cub coming. So this little, what should we call it, gathering mission has been a success. And in No, we won't get it. There's another one just behind us. There are two behind us that are coming in to the kill. So all the cubs are fine. That's why she was looking. Now we're only missing one lioness, but we won't worry about her at all. She'll be absolutely fine. She can look after herself. So I think that what happened here last night is that this pride killed two wildebeest. They left this one, they ate another one, and then left the cubs there when the females went off to have a drink at the waterhole this morning. And then they rested there at the waterhole while the cubs rested in the long grass. And if that wasn't enough, we've got the call of the rufous-naped lark again, piping a little soundtrack to the end of the afternoon's drama. I'm just trying to wait for the other ones to come in here. I don't want to move, because if I start the engine, it's probably going to disturb what's going on here. So now we've got one of the bigger cubs feeding and one of the little ones. And there's the adults. There are the adults that went looking for the other cubs. So the other two cubs are just having a little drink next to us, and then I'm pretty sure they're going to come to the kill. Just a stunning, stunning sequence today, and wonderful to see the pride reunited. Let's go back up north to where the elephants are stuffing as much grass into their mouths as possible before the huge herds arrive there.
Well done, James. Stick with those lions because I have stuck with my elephants and I don't seem to be going anywhere because I changed the angle and I came much lower from where they are and they're much higher than me and it has changed the whole ball game. I might have said this before that elephants are my favorite animals for so very many reasons. Let's go very quickly to Talamba with Jamie.
Little Talamba is up and she spotted something and she just got up and dashed off, but she's changed her mind and whatever it was appears to have evaded her. And this is just very typical behavior of young leopards. They haven't learned yet what is worth chasing after and what isn't. And I think in that case she probably heard a rustling in the grass. Earlier on I was with her. I spent a bit of time with her during the day to make sure that we could show her to you this afternoon. And I actually watched her go and sniff a piece of grass, and while she was sniffing it, she stuck it up her nose and got a horrible fright and jumped up and ran about 50 meters away. Just young leopards. They're strange creatures. She's up again. Sorry. There's that body language changed completely. Ears up. Staring out. There you go. See? She's looking out across. And she might actually have seen something more worthwhile. So we're on the banks of a dried river, and it is an area where you find lots of different antelope species because the food here, as in the vegetation for them, just tends to be a little bit better in quality. So you'll find more of the secretive antelope, things like nyala or even impala actually, around here. And that's why it is such a preferred habitat for leopards. They've also got plenty of cover, plenty of places to hide. Remember how I said at the start that there's a good chance Talamba could get up and start hunting once again? Well, that is exactly what she's done. And of course, keeping up with a little leopard as she goes off on her hunting missions can be tricky, but we're going to give it our best shot. I'm not going to move right now. You can see by the twitch of the end of her tail something's interesting her. See that? There's absolutely no way that a leopard can control that. Their little tails are instinct driven, and while they're very important to the build of a leopard and helping to balance them, especially when they're chasing their prey, they also are a little bit of a giveaway as to the leopard's intentions. All right, everything's all about body language out here, and sometimes the direct approach is the more appropriate.
Indeed, everything is about body language, and body language with these lions at the moment is very aggressive. We've just arrived where we were this morning, and the male and the female have had a huge fight with each other. The rest of the pride is sleeping as though nothing is going on at all, but to the right of them, hidden in amongst those branches, is where the male and the female are that are being very aggressive to one another. There's been growling, swatting at one another. There was mating initially, so it's surprising that they've become so aggressive. There's the male, and the female is just down below where she is where he is at the moment. Listen. Now, can you hear? Lots of rumbling that's going on from there. The other male has also stood up now. He's at the top of the rock, and he's also having a look at what's going on. Difficult to make him out right at the top behind the bushes. So he's peering over just to see what is all the commotion about and why is there so much aggression taking place between these guys. Absolutely amazing. Firstly, to see lions on a rock. Two, to have them growling and hissing and mating and fighting on a surface like that is just the most epic scene ever. For those of you that have just joined us, my name is Tristan, and it's really good to have you with us in the Northern Serengeti. This is typical Northern Serengeti. You've got rocks, lions on top of the rocks, wildebeest way off in the distance at the moment, and it is just the most perfect place to be able to view wildlife. It's moments like this that make you fall in love with this part of the world very, very quickly. Now, it seems as though everything's settled for a bit, but I doubt that's the last of it. Given the amount of lions that are on a very small space of rock, I'm pretty sure that we're going to see a lot more aggression from them just now, especially if that male tries to mate with the female. That's when I think we're going to start to see her getting a little bit upset and him getting a bit temperamental, and that's when that growling and hissing is going to carry on once again. Right, we're going to be patient and see what happens. In the meantime, though, let's send you... Now, hold on. They're just busy growling again. Oh, it's difficult. Anyway, we're going to be patient and wait, and we'll see what happens. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to James and those cubs.
We've had a return here. The other two cubs have moved in. On top of the termite mound, one of them is being licked, probably by its mother. There we go. And the whole pride, bar one female, is now being reunited. It's just magnificent to watch. A really nice, happy ending to the drama playing out here. We'll keep an eye on the drama playing out in Tanzania in case something else dramatic occurs. Probably a fight over mating or over food, I guess. It's interesting how mammals fight over exactly the same things, no matter what species they are. From human to rock hyrax. It's difficult to know where to look here because we have two cubs feeding on the carcass. We've got one being groomed, we've got two females grooming each other, another cub trying to suckle, one cub lying on her own, thinking about life. And of course, playing centre stage, although unwillingly, a dead wildebeest. Was a young bull, you can see. Those soft bits that you can see there on the wildebeest are normally the first to go, so somebody's going to get a lucky snack. Now, we're going to go back to South Africa, where one of the most active cats, I think, on the continent is now twitching.
Back to South Africa, where Tlalamba is looking gorgeous in the golden light, and she's got her ears pricked up. She's listening intently to something that is hidden away in the bushes in front of her. And you can see those ears working overtime. There we go. Every time she sort of turns her head, she immediately hears something else and then looks back again. Nothing can be quite as intent as a leopard when it's found something that it wants to eat. And they'll often sit patiently like this, sometimes even for an hour or more at a time, and they just watch and they just wait, and then all of a sudden, with a burst of speed, they launch themselves forward and they go racing towards whatever it is that they happen to have seen, which is exactly what we're anticipating with Tlalamba. Look at the way her muscles are coiled. Her head is down, her ears are forward. She's shifting ever so slightly there, the shoulder blades moving up. All big cats have these loose shoulder blades that allow them to assume a more powerful pouncing position if they need to. And she's getting her feet up under her. I didn't see any sign of movement yet. This particular area is full of scrub hares and the occasional squirrel. Tlallamba's a little bit past squirrels at this stage, but it could be a scrub hare, it could be almost anything. Her body language has started to change now. She's shifted back into a more relaxed position. Her ears are starting to move around, listening around her rather than straight towards whatever it was that she was interested in. Now she's just listening. What it must be like to spend a day in the mind of a leopard and be able to hear that way. My name is Jamie, and the man operating the camera is Craig, and you're watching CGTN's Wild Wonderland, where we are watching a leopard live here in South Africa as she goes about her evening business. You'll notice, of course, that there are other vehicles. There you go. I said her body language had changed. She's going to settle down for a snooze in this beautiful light. You will notice other vehicles. That's just because in this particular area, people can come on safari to come and view these animals as well. There, she's settled down a little bit now. Now, I said that I was going to tell you a little bit more about Tundi. I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to send you all the way to the Serengeti to find out what Tristan's lions are going to get up to next.
Indeed, we are still with our lions, and for now everything is a little more kind of calm, and we've got the most regal pose of a big male lion sitting on top of the rock. The light, unfortunately, is a little bit behind him, and from the other side we actually can't see anything, but he's watching us at the moment and just peering out over the rock. Now, this is not the grumpy male. He seems to be much calmer than his coalition partner, who is still grumbling and growling every now and then. It's a lot calmer than it was, but he's just off to the right underneath that fallen over tree at the moment, lying right up close to where the female is. I'm not sure where the fifth female is, the one that's missing her tail. Oh, sorry, I should say the fifth lion, the lioness that's missing her tail. I'm not sure where she is, but I suspect she's somewhere on the top of the rock with that male that was posing. You can see there's the other coalition member just in underneath. But isn't it just the most spectacular thing to have these silhouettes of male lions with their manes kind of showing off each little individual strand when the sun is behind them? It's stuff that's almost out of a storybook, isn't it? It's absolutely beautiful. Oh, there's the lady with this no tail. Her paws have just come up just below where that male is, and that's probably why he wants to actually come down. He emerged from the top there and started walking down and then lay down when the other male growled. But there you can see her feet in typical lion fashion. She's on her back and just kind of got her paws in the air, trying to stay nice and cool. And as it's getting to this time of the day, so it's starting to cool down enough for these lions to actually move around quite a bit, but absolutely beautiful and as spectacular as you could ever ask for in terms of a picturesque scene for lions to be in place. And like I say, it's one of the reasons why this area will make you fall in love with it. These big boulders like this, coupled with the fact that you get huge amounts of lions and leopards and even the cheetahs that sit on top of these rocks, it makes for the most spectacular scenery and sightings ever, and you kind of get captivated by it. It's very, very, very beautiful. Now he's going to have a big, big yawn. Oh, isn't that cool? You can see his teeth almost silhouetted against the background as well. Now I'm pretty sure he's going to make a move just now, so we'll wait and be patient for him to move and see what his grumpy coalition partner gets up to. In the meantime, though, let's see what James's cute, cuddly little lions are doing.
We've just witnessed something toe-curling, everybody, especially for those of us with a Y chromosome. That wildebeest's undercarriage has just gone down the throat of that lioness. And of course, obviously, wildebeest didn't feel anything, but I did watch this pride do that to an old male that was obviously quite sick, and one of them knocked it over, and then the others ate off its most sensitive bits. And now one of the cubs is going to access the abdomen via that most sensitive spot. It's very interesting actually. One of the lionesses came up, devoured that piece, and then went to sit down. There she is. It's almost as if she found the best part of the wildebeest surprisingly uneaten. And so she swallowed it and thoroughly satisfied went to lie down. If you do hear engine starting, we are not alone in the sighting. There is one other vehicle here, which is astounding. It really is very special that we've had so much time here with these magnificent cats on our own. Bar one. Ooh. That's interesting. Often around food. Or sometimes a mother just becomes a little bit irritated when other lions get too close. You can see she's panting quite heavily, so I think the heat's getting to her slightly. And possibly also the fact that she's having her tail bitten by her cubs. Lions, remember, get very uncomfortable when they eat because they eat to the point of being almost unable to move. Now, only the mother is in that state, the others are not. And now the rest of them are getting involved. Slowly, as the breeze starts to blow in from the southwest, it's just getting a little bit cooler. Now, there are all sorts of different social structures out here. Herds, families, prides, and Steve has got one of the most intricate.
From one form of feeding to another, here this very nice herd of elephants is enjoying what seems to be a very delicious patch of grass. They've been walking for some time. I've been backtracking to keep them in shot. Now they've all stopped. It's something that has caught their attention. And isn't she beautiful with her head painted so orangey brown? Indication of the change in the soil that we have up here. She's actually thrown some sand on her face, going all the way over her back, and there's even some grass and some roots there on her bottom, right at the back there. Elephants love to dust bath. It is a very, very common thing for them to do. And they also flap their ears like that, not out of aggression, but out of a cooling system. And if you are just joining us, my name is Steve Falconbridge, joined by Jean Regarding on camera, and we are with some marvelous elephants in the Mara Triangle. And they're being joined by more at the back. There's a group of about 10 or so, just moving through various ages. They really have come across some sweet grass there. It's some nice long tendrils. There's a little youngster just barely creeping above the grass. The long grass in the eyes must be quite bothersome. Walk behind, close behind Mum, and she'll clear the path for you. Such a pretty lady. Almost looks like they've found some sedges or something like that. Well, while we watch these elephants enjoy their afternoon tea, we're going to send you all the way back down to South Africa with my good friend Trishala.
Look at this. There's nothing like having a wonderful Ellie sighting. And this mum is hiding a lovely secret. And that secret is suckling just underneath her there. Come out and say hello. Now, these elephants are actually a little bit, not nervous, but they're very aware of something that's around here. So possibly there's a predator. Trunks were in the air, sniffing the air. You can see she's concentrating and she's standing still. It's because she's listening. She's listening to all the messages being passed between herself and the other elephants. Where are you, little one? Oh, there you are. It's been a wonderful baby Saturday. Stunning. Now they're going after all the bits of green that are still left. and they are actually heading towards a watering hole we call Buffelshoek Dam. And you might be familiar with Buffelshoek Dam because that's the dam we had the duiker stuck in. Seb and I, in fact. Now, I have some special news for you, and that is that we just saw our muddy duiker. How awesome is that? It was definitely her. She had a mud line on her, which was just amazing. So I'm so happy that we finally got to see her, and you know that she's safe. How wonderful is that? Now, of course, my name is Trishala with Seb on camera, so the two of us were extremely happy to be able to see her. Oh, that was just unbelievable. But we're going to move a little bit forward, and maybe these animals will be willing to give us a better view of them. Now, remember that we are completely live. How awesome is that? So you can ask us your questions and give us your comments using the hashtag CGTN Wild or hashtag Wild Wonderland. Hello? We're going to catch up with them in a bit. But you know Steve had elephants up in the Mara, and I've got them here down in South Africa. So let's learn a little bit more about the differences and similarities.
Elephants are an iconic keystone species of the wilderness. And they have captured our hearts and minds like no other. The herds are fascinating to observe and extremely important to the health of African ecosystems. Elephants live in complex matriarchal societies. Calves are raised and mentored by caring relatives and friends. Their playfulness and intelligence in so many ways mimics our own. More than 30 years of human activity has made the elephants of the Sabi Sand relatively comfortable around our vehicles.
Oh my goodness, hello. That's very close.
We must always guard against becoming complacent in their awesome presence. That said, a respectful and sensitive approach to these intelligent creatures can result in moments of profound connection to the wilderness.
Welcome live, and it's wonderful to talk about elephants because whichever country you are in, Kenya or South Africa or Serengeti or Tanzania and Serengeti in Tanzania, talking about elephants, it's always very exciting. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we got something new for you here. And thank you so much for keeping watching CGTN Wild Wonderland Show. And we're coming to you live from the Masai Mara. What you got on the screen there is a black rhino. I feel very lucky. We are so privileged to have seen one. We haven't seen one for a couple of days. And I'm just looking at her carefully. From her body language, it's like she may be having a calf next to her. So this one definitely must be a female. And I think either on the other side, there could be a very young calf with her there. And you can see all those birds on top of our body that we call oxpeckers. And my guess is these are the yellow-billed oxpeckers. And of course, they're always there for the obvious reasons. They'll always get parasites out of the bodies of these pachyderms. We see them once in a while also on buffaloes, like the huge herd of buffaloes I had before. But to me, rhinos got much tougher skin or much harder skin than the buffaloes. Now, I'm just hoping that this calf of this cow is going to rise and move around, and you're going to see her. So the best thing I'm going to do is just to stick around, spend a few more minutes seeing this very special black rhino. In the Masai Mara, we have only black rhinos as much as other areas of the country. We've got both black and white, but in the Masai Mara, we have black rhinos only. And as I stick around here to find out if this calf will wake up, let's go first look at some hyenas with Steve.
Thanks, David. Enjoy your rhino. Hopefully that calf manages to show itself. I'm very privileged to be able to see rhinos still these days. But here we are once again, everybody. If you have not viewed them before, we are at the North Clan den site, and these are the new generation of North Clan members, all hanging around waiting for their respective mothers to arrive to provide them with their evening milk. This is the hive of activity. The social hierarchy of the North Clan is determined by den sites like this. They estimate there's apparently almost 70 members in this clan, which is incredible. And 70 members was before most of these were born. So it's very interesting, and the dynamics between them are very, very delicate. Hyenas know each other intimately. They have got incredible sense of smell. Whether they see each other, know each other visually, it's hard for me to tell you. But there you go, that one has managed to find itself a bone. What have you got there, little one? You found something to chew on and keep your teeth busy. Well, we're going to stay here with these beautiful little hyenas. Hopefully they're going to play around with us shortly. But once again, I'm going to send you back down to Sabi Sands with my friend Trish.
There's other animals playing around down here in South Africa, and it's these elephants. Now, I was really hoping that they weren't going to drink here, because elephants love clean, good water, and this is definitely not offering them that. But there's a second option always, and that is to lather yourself in some mud. Oh, do you know you're hitting the little baby there? And now, having these sort of mud baths, you can almost think of it like a mask. So they've got it onto their body, and they're protecting their body from the heat, and it's creating a cooling effect. And on top of that, what it's doing is removing, or basically kind of gluing, any parasites in that mud, and then they'll go and scrape themselves on trees to get those parasites off. And when it comes to the dry season, there's definitely winners and losers, and unfortunately, as you can see in this case, you can see that elephants looking to drink are losers, whereas the lions, like the ones there that had the buffalo, those are winners. They're winning from the drought. Alex, you'd like to know how large elephant herds can get? Well, elephant herds, they kind of have sort of a fusion, fission kind of society. So you'll have groups of matriarchs and their families. That'll be a small family unit, sort of like this, and they're related to the other elephants in the area. So herds can be huge if they decide to come together, and they can be small like this if they decide to go off on their own. Oh, just have a look there. You can see just how deep that mud goes. Look at that. So you can see how it was easy for that duiker to get stuck in there. But for a large animal like this, it's easy for them to pull themselves out. You can see that baby's trying to get in there too. I think you're going on the wrong end. Oh, too sweet. You had a wonderful baby day. I want you to just listen to them. Neil, you say playing in the mud looks fun. For 3 of them it does. But this little boy here closest to us is saying, no, I don't want to be involved. I'll just play with my trunk instead. But I agree with you. I think it looks like a lot of fun. Just listen. Just splashing about. Now, if you look at the individual that's just sat down outside of the pile. Oh, baby's getting it. Oh, baby. Don't go in head first. really, really having some fun. Now, this elephant on our right, there we go. You can see that it's starting now to spray the drier sand over it, and that's what's going to help all this caking of the mud to happen and dry out, and that's how it can remove any of those pests on its body. This, to me, looks a little bit like necessity and about 80% fun. Look, they're all listening to something. Yes, you are. Why aren't you getting involved? There's a dry one there. Come on, baby, you can make it up. Don't slip. Really nice. Now, the elephants have moved mostly off Juma these last few days, and these are a few stragglers that are having so much fun. Well, like I said, it's a really, really baby Saturday today. So let me send you over to David because he's got a cute little bundle too.
Well, very true, and I'm sure Trish knows that elephants are my favorite animals. And from cute baby elephants, now we have a cute baby rhino. And as I said earlier, I guessed that most likely she or this cow had a calf just next to her who was laying down. As the temperatures, I guess, have really dropped, that makes them a little bit more mobile because they just cooled off. And that's why that calf has been able to rise and is walking around. That is the mother right there. And black rhinos will either have their calves on their sides or at the back. That's one of the major differences between black rhinos and white rhinos, whereas the white rhinos could either the babies on the side or in front. Gemma, very good question, and you're asking how many black rhinos are there in the Mara. Well, that's a very difficult question, Gemma, to answer because you notice the boundary between Kenya and Tanzania, or rather between Serengeti National Park and the Masai Mara Game Reserve, is quite porous. So I can talk of the region we are in here. Where we are, we think we got anything between 10 to 15 black rhinos. But if you look at the bigger Mara, the game rangers will tell us we have about 30 rhinos between Serengeti and the Masai Mara. But this particular corner of the Mara we are, we think we got 11 to 15 black rhinos. And of the two species of rhinos we got in Kenya, black and white, I would say this particular one is critically endangered. But the good news is the populations are going up. Well, I still want to watch if they might turn around and come very close to where we are. And as I try to do that, we'll take you to other, not as playful rhino baby I have here, playful lion cubs.
I got to tell you, it's pretty amazing that during the course of the series we've had 2 rhino sightings. It's unusual because there are not a lot of them around, and we're really privileged to show them to you. Equally, we are privileged to show you the antics here of the Salt Lick Pride, 2 adults pretending they're children, and then 2 children being children, one older than the other. And although it might look like bullying, it really isn't. It's just such joyful playing. It very seldom escalates to anything violent, like often happens at a hyena den. I say that. But you never see the little one running away in terror. And it's normally the big one who gives up. And still, our poor wildebeest being made a meal of, one having a go at the foot there, that's just playing. I mean, there's no ways that that little cub thinks it's going to eat that leg. It's now playing with the tail. Goodness knows what it tastes like. And of course, lions are not very fussy eaters. They'll eat just about anything. And as I said, the most rancid kind of innards are no problem for them at all. You can sit and watch this pride for ages, especially at this time of the day as the sun goes down. because they become so ridiculously playful. One having a little go still inside the carcass. A really odd place for the lioness to have opened it up. She did open it up at the sternum, which granted access to the muscles around the shoulders and the intercostal muscles, I suppose, but otherwise very difficult for the cub to get in there because the rib cage hasn't been split yet. And so there's not a great deal of cub feeding because it's difficult for them. Ah, we have a bit of tail there. One of the cubs has run off with a bit of tail. Now they're all fighting over it. There we are. How delicious. Looks just like a horse's tail, doesn't it? It is, of course, an exceptional fly swatter, very necessary. If you've been around the herds, you'll know how utterly appalling the flies are around these animals. And apparently, a bit like Tlalamba was playing with the scrub hair tail. Tlalamba, of course, not quite as playful anymore. She's still quite playful, but not like these little things. She's got very adult considerations these days, whereas these young cubs have absolutely no consideration except where their next milk or meat meal is going to come from. I imagine it must have been a very hot day out here in the grass without the parents. All right, let's go up north. One of the greatest things you can ever see in Africa is the setting sun, so enjoy it with Steve.
Thanks, James. And for those of you who are joining us here towards the end of the show, you've been watching CGTN's Wild Wonderland live show, and it has been a circle of everything, hasn't it? Cub cuteness, hyena cubs, lion cubs, little elephant babies, and dust bathing, to mating and scrappy lions. What an afternoon. Feeding huge herds of wildebeest. And here, the magical scenes of the Mara as the sun starts to set in the west, bringing another end to another day, a time when the hyena will start getting a little bit more active, like the lions as well, a little bit more active when it's cooler. You can feel the temperatures dropped quite a fair bit since when we started anyway. And these hyenas are going to start getting a little bit more playful. Generally, after a bit of a suckling session is when they have the milk, obviously, and they get that energy boost. And then they get very, very playful afterwards. You've probably seen it with James's cubs after a little bit of time. And there they get a little bit more playful. And we see it in humans as well. Just after dinner, there's that moment, that sugar rush. Everybody runs around and goes a little bit mad for a while. And we're hoping that maybe in the last few moments we might get a little bit of that with these hyena, who for now are just enjoying, well, just checking on all their own bits and pieces. Don't do that, little one. Janet, what an awesome show today. Indeed, I can't fault you there. Oh, I just heard somebody nudge me underneath the car. Hello, little one, what are you doing? They love to come and smell the car. They love to come, and we've been driving all over the place. We've driven through all sorts of dung and manure and smells from all over the area, and we brought it here, so they're all very interested. They get to sort of spend a lot of time around this den, and they basically get to smell all the smells that the parents bring back. And we are just like the parent, really, except we don't provide them any food or any milk. But we do bring smells that are very interesting to their very keen noses. You see how they're constantly sniffing the ground, constantly trying to figure out what's going on. This is the North Clan, everybody, and we will be trying to show them to you again tomorrow. Hopefully we get a few more of the adults, a little bit more play. But what a fantastic afternoon it's been. Don't forget, everybody, we'll be live again tomorrow morning at 7:30 Eastern African time. And we look forward to bringing you some more marvelous scenes from the migration, from the hyenas, lions, wildebeest, leopards of South Africa, from myself and the rest of the team. It has been a wonderful journey this afternoon. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. Have a good evening, good night, and goodbye.